Hello, and welcome to another episode of Schooling Around. I'm Danielle Smith.
And I'm Alexis Ware. This week we have more interesting things in store for you all, starting with the Paige Elizabeth parent interview. We also have the Team TORC competition and ending with the Vietnam Veterans Talk at OHS.
So stick around for Schooling Around.
First up, we have Paige Elizabeth parent and her music video. We have a snippet of that, so take a look. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Schooling Around. Today we have a very special interview with Paige Elizabeth. You know her from a recent Oxford Leader interview where she starred in a Price Smith music video. What was the name of that music video?
It was called Come to the Light.
Okay. And when was that recorded?
Last November, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So has it been out for that long, or is it kind of just now getting
I believe it was released earlier this year sometime. We had this viewing party at a museum in Port Huron for it.
Okay, and what's the name of that museum that you had at that party?
I'm not quite sure. I can't remember.
So you are an Oxford alumni, but Price Smith is actually from Port Huron. How did you guys meet?
My mom and him were best friends since high school, and so he's been doing music for years now. In the service, he played in New York. So my mom thought it was a great opportunity to get me more into different genres of music. So she introduced us, and that's how it worked out.
Awesome. Is that where the music video took place?
Yes, at the Port Huron Lighthouse.
Okay, and how was it being up in the lighthouse and doing all those different shoots there?
It was incredible, just being on top of the lighthouse and outside of it and seeing the lake and all the freighters, which is my favorite part. So it was a great experience and a long experience, but yes. Something I would definitely do again, yes.
Was that your first music video?
It was, yes.
Okay, so and you would definitely do it again?
Of course, I would love to.
Now, going into Price Smith, is he someone who is pretty prominent among Port Huron, or?
He is, yeah. He plays all over Michigan, but this summer he's actually hoping to play somewhere in Detroit. Awesome. So he's just branching himself out, and a lot of people know him. He's great at piano, so.
Great. So piano, and does he sing a little bit as well? I saw a little bit of the music video, and we're actually going to show the viewers a little bit of that as well. But
he sticks to piano. He's really good. I think he plays the trumpet also. He gets around with music. He does like to sing too, so he's very talented.
What was your part in the music video as well as the song?
Basically, this was Price's inspiration and vision to do all this, and he put me where he needed to put me, and I was just blessed to be there. So.
Awesome. So you also do music then?
I do, yes. I write my own music. And I am currently coming out with an EP, hopefully by the summer. It has 4 songs on it, so, yeah.
And what is your absolute favorite song from that 4-piece EP that you're working on?
My favorite song, and this was the first one I wrote for the EP, was called Learning to Live.
Learning to Live.
Yes.
All right, well, we are going to take a quick break to listen to a little snippet of that song of hers, and we'll be right back.
So why am I falling? Why am I crawling, holding on? I tried to forgive you. I couldn't blame you. You gave me life, and I'm learning to live mine. Every time you shut the door on me, I'm screaming for you not to leave. You said you
All right, so that was one of Paige Elizabeth's songs called Learning to Live. That's from her Falling Up EP coming out hopefully in the summer. What was your inspiration behind that song?
So I wrote it in the last summer, and I was just going through like a really like personal and dark time, and I actually like really like this song because specifically I wrote it like about religiously.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically about like God and like looking up to that, but I like it because you can relate it to like a relationship or other important things in your life, so it can go both ways.
Okay. What would you say the majority of your songs kind of lean towards as far as genre?
I'd say more pop.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I like pop. Pop is a nice genre to get into. How much work goes into making a song? Do you have your hand in the entire process, like the beat making process, the song lyrics?
Well, it's a lot of work and a lot of sessions and time, but I do. Like, I really try to involve myself in creating the beats and all the behind the scenes to make sure I like it. And I actually work with Kevin Wesley is the producer, and he also did Come to the Light. So
Awesome.
he works with me through all of that, and he's great with it. So I'm really blessed to be there. Yeah.
Where did you meet your producer? Is he also someone local?
He's in Macomb.
Okay.
So he is kind of local. Price Smith, actually, I don't know how he met him. Probably online or through a mutual friend, but he introduced me to him, and that's how I got into my own music with him.
And how long have you been making your own music?
Writing my own songs?
Oh, the entire process.
Well, I've been writing since I was little, but this has specifically probably been since the summer.
Okay. And this was your very first song. So about how long do you work on a song before you move on to the next one?
Depends on the day, but sometimes I can spend about 30 minutes. Sometimes I spend about a week.
Okay.
Just depends, yeah.
Does it also depend on your mood?
It does. I have to be in the mood. I can't force myself to write.
I understand that completely. So this is your first song, Learning to Live, and then you said it's a 4-part EP. So what are
Yes.
the other 3 songs?
One of them is called Forget.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is called Am I Breathing? And then the last one is called Still High.
Wow, I love those
Thank
names.
you.
And do you also make up the song names, obviously?
I do, yes,
Okay.
with my mom's help. She's great with that.
Awesome. Is your mom also in music somehow?
She is like my momager, we like to call her.
Okay.
So everything that I do in music, including with Price, goes through her first.
Great. Good job, momager. All right, so you are a recent graduate of Oxford High School. What year did you graduate?
2017.
2017. So you're still in college right
I am,
now.
yes.
And what is your major?
I'm going into special education.
What was the drive behind that?
My mom's actually a special education teacher at Clear Lake.
Okay.
So I kind of grew up like volunteering in her classroom, especially in high school when I got the chance. So I just like fell in love with those kids. They're everything to me.
So that's your major, and are you minoring in anything else?
I am
or is
not,
that
no.
your
Yep.
sole focus?
That's it.
Great. Okay, so I see that your mom is very influential in
Yes, she is.
everything. It seems like
Yes,
you
she
do. Great. Awesome. And that about wraps up for this week's interview with Paige Elizebeth. Again, thank you so much for being
you.
here. And we're going to send it back to Danielle at the desk.
It really takes talent to write and perform your own music.
It does, and she did such a phenomenal job. You can tell just in her vocals that she really practiced a lot, and her instrumentals behind it. She said that she works with a few different people inside the interview, if you watch that. So it really shows how much hard work and dedication that she puts into it.
And she had her hand in every aspect, it sounds like, working on her EP, so it's very remarkable.
Including her momager, as she called her mom and her manager. I think she does a pretty good job keeping her grounded and teaching her that, yeah, you have your music career going and it's still developing, but you also need an education to fall back on as well. So that's good. Great job, momager, and we look forward to seeing more of you, Paige Elizebeth, parent. Moving right along into our next segment, more students who are doing phenomenal things is the Team TORC group. Take a look at them.
Okay. Let's talk about Alpena. That was a pretty special day. All right, give us a little overview of what happened and any thoughts that are going through your mind.
All right, so at Alpina, our second week robotics competition, we ended up winning the entire event with our alliance partners, which is a really exciting thing because it is definitely something that every team strives to do, but not something that everybody ends up getting very easily. It's a very difficult process, and that we won very fortunately, but also through the work that we'd put in up to this point to get there.
And I believe your partners were Grand Rapids and Allenton, I believe was the other city for
Yes,
that. Yeah, it was a remarkable team. It was so fun watching them, and I'm so glad that we had that opportunity. What did you think, Zoe?
I think that it was incredible because within the qualification matches, we only lost one of our matches. And out of the finals, quarterfinals, and semifinals, we lost one match. So in total, we kind of lost 2 matches, and that's incredible because not many teams can do that. It's something that it's hard to attain.
Doesn't happen all the time, huh? And tell me a little bit about the other award that you guys got. That was significant too.
So the other award that we won at the end of the competition is they were announcing like awards for all these other teams that they've won, like for their robot design, how it functions, how their team operates. We won an award called the Excellence in Engineering Award, which refers to a very specific cool robot feature or set of features that a certain team had built on their machine. For us, that would most likely include the pivot arm that we have on our robot that swoops it down to pick up game pieces from the floor or from the human player deposit station from either side of the robot. So it's very efficient using time to be able to pick up anything anywhere. But also it probably refers to our climbing system, because at the end of the game this year, there is a chance for each robot to climb to a certain elevated position, like an elevated platform, to get extra ranking points at the end of the game. So we developed a system that has these 2 arms in the front and like these 2 pogo sticks in the back that extends downwards, and an automated correction system where if you pull yourself up from the front, the pogo sticks will automatically level yourself out in the back. So then you can just drive forward, and then you're on top of the highest platform.
And you know, we need to mention that this isn't the first award that you got this year. You also had a pretty significant accomplishment last time. You got the Chairman's Award, didn't you? Why don't you talk a little bit about that and what it means?
The Chairman's Award is the most prestigious award in FIRST. It involves your team's ability to have outreach towards others, to work in your community, work with others, and to come together as a whole. We won Chairman's at Belleville, and what we had to do to attain this award was we had to write an essay, we had to present in front of judges, and we had to express why we do what we do and what we're doing.
And that's the kind of award that you kind of like to renew every year, isn't it? It's an ongoing process. It's not something that you just win one time. You've got to keep the thing going year after year. It's an outreach situation. It's something you don't want to stop doing. But entitled you to something special, and what was that? This year, it was an automatic entry to
States.
And not that that's an important thing, but that's coming up pretty soon, a couple weeks actually, and that's going to be in Saginaw. That's Saginaw College, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be, and I know you guys are going to do just great. Now, just off the cuff here, we've got brother and sister, freshman and senior. Gabe, what was going through your mind when your sister started making inklings about getting into robotics, which you had been in for nearly 4 years?
You know, I think the expected response to this question is like, I was terrified. My sister, I had to drive her everywhere, deal with her competition. But no, as much as we have brotherly and sisterly banter, between each other. I think it was fine for me. I knew that when Zoe puts her mind to something, and not just to gush about you, but when she puts her mind to something, I know that she does a really good job when she really, really cares about something, and that she did seem very enthused to be.
Did you start thinking about how you felt when you were a freshman getting into that? And how, I know sometimes you were frustrated because you couldn't do more, because other guys were doing it. But
yeah, exactly. Something that wasn't made exclusively, or not exclusively, something that wasn't made very clear to me when I first joined the team was the fact that when you first jump into it, especially with something in the realm of programming, which I'm like lead captain of now and I wish to continue doing and had wished to continue doing back then, was the fact that you're not going to immediately be able to work on the robot because it's such a complicated project with training, a decent amount of training required if you've never worked on a complicated program for that type of machine before or that type of application.
yeah, one last thing before we shut the camera off, guys. Phil Kimmel, Mr. Kimmel, has been with robotics for, a few years now, I think.
Ever since very much before I was part of the team, he's been there. He's
been a very devoted advocate of robotics around Oxford High, and he's chosen to take his career to the next level and go to work for Oakland Schools. So we're sad to say for Oxford that this is his final year helping out in robotics in TORC 2137. We certainly wish him luck. And I know a lot of people are sad to see him go, and in a way, probably he's a little sad to go too, but life goes on. So good luck to Mr. Kimmel, eh?
Yeah, good luck to Mr. Kimmel. He has done and will continue to do a fantastic job on whatever he goes to next. So
hey, we got states coming up in Saginaw and Worlds coming up in Detroit, and I know you guys are going to do well. Thanks and good luck.
Thank you.
You bet.
They had 12 matches and only lost one. Really speaks a lot to all of the work and time and dedication they put in.
Exactly, and I would like to give a huge shout out to John Ochins as well. Right. I know some of you may remember him. He was the previous Schooling Around and School News host before Danielle and I were here. He was actually at this Team TORC competition, and he was the one who recorded everything, and his two grandchildren, Gage and his granddaughter, were the ones in the interview, and they're a part of the team. Gabe is the leader of all of it, and they're extremely smart, extremely well spoken, and they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, it shows all of the hard work that Team TORC puts in, so congratulations to them.
And moving on to our very last story of the day, we're going right back to OHS and their Performing Arts Center to listen to some of the Vietnam vets talk to the United States history class. Take a look. Today we are here at Oxford High School for the 9th grade Vietnam Veteran Talks. Individual veterans are going around speaking to select students about their experiences serving their country. Let's take a look inside. Alright, so we are standing here with Mrs. Shalick. She is the one who coordinates this entire thing. How much time and effort does it go into planning this event?
It takes quite a bit of time. In the very beginning, it took a ton of time. We've done this a couple of years now, so over the years, I kind of have a routine down and, saving communications and things like that. So I'm kind of in a groove with it, but it does. We start planning this at the beginning of the school year, trying to pick a date. And then from there, second semester is when I really start getting started of just pulling together my resources and communication with the vets and trying to get it all lined up.
And you mentioned this has been going on for a few years, so how many years exactly?
Well, before I came to Oxford High School, they were doing it where the vets would come in and talk to individual classrooms. And so when I think I've been here at the high school for like 6 years now. So within the past 6 years, we do it where we have this big auditorium. And so this style has been the last 6 years of doing it where they have this more, at least 3 vets, 2 vets to talk to, a more smaller group.
And when we first arrived, we imagined it being the vets on stage, but it seems here it's a lot more personal, a lot more interactive. Do the students get to go around to the individual vets, or do they kind of stay in that one place?
They stay in that one place, and so they're given their task sheet that correlates with their IB project, and it's a certain color, and that's just how we coordinate what corner of the auditorium they go to. We thought about rotating, but with 2 to 3 vets per group, they really have a lot to say, and we don't really want to break up that flow of conversation, and so they get a lot out of, in an hour, they get a lot of information just by sitting right there.
Now, because we did notice the colored sheets, is it different questions based on the colored sheets, or are they all pretty similar?
Nope, they're all similar. That's actually the task sheet that every U.S. history student gets for that project. And on the back side is the IB rubric with a space for notes. And so really they're only color coded so that they know where to go in the auditorium. But no, it's everyone's project is the same, and they just have a space to take notes. So.
Now, every veteran clearly has a different story, different things that are significant to them. Does it affect how the questions are answered at all?
I think it affects, I think it does. I think since their experiences are so different, we did do something new this year where we did a lesson the day before where students brainstormed together some questions that they might want to know. So that's really helped with the conversation and getting the information out that the students are interested in. But it does depend. We have some vets that were drafted, some that enlisted. We had some vets that their families disowned them because they were drafted and went, or they were injured, and we have different branches of the military. So we have a very eclectic story to tell just as a whole and just in their individual groups.
Now, this is a class assignment, so obviously the students are graded on it. If the stories are so different but yet similar, how are they graded on the answers for that?
Because a lot of the answers are opinion based. So what was most interesting to you? What did you find most disappointing or concerning? Some of them then tie back to what have we learned in class, and then did you hear a story that then connected to that?
And speaking of those veteran stories, what are the backgrounds of some of these veterans here?
Some of the backgrounds, most of them are went off to war when they were between like 18 and 20 years old. Some of them were, like I said, drafted, and so they didn't get a choice. Some of them decided it was their duty to enlist, and that's what they wanted to do. So a lot of them came from rural backgrounds, and some of them, this was the first time they ever traveled abroad or had any type of experience outside of their hometown.
Is it typically the same veterans every year, or do you get a good mix-up?
No, it's typically the same veterans every year. We love to work with them. They're really great. They're from the local VFW halls, and so my contact stays the same, and he does the all-call to who would like to participate. So through the years, we've really formed a great relationship with all the vets that keep returning.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to head in there and check out some of their talks.
Great, thank you.
A lot of them assume they were on drugs or whatever, and if they think PTSD was bad for me, it was a lot worse back then, and they didn't even treat it. So, it was.
That's one thing about PTSD. PTSD was called different things at different times. World War II, a lot of it was shell shock.
Yeah.
Convention, we might be tired of running 3 miles, and sometimes it takes that. Not that we've ever done that.
It's like, being in boot camp.
What is it like to hear the veterans' experience firsthand?
Well, it's like a lot different than what we're learning, like what we hear in class. Like, it's way more powerful to us because we didn't know, like, oh, well, this Agent Orange stuff is going to affect their whole familyhood and everything. So it's like really like powerful to hear what they went through and what they still have to deal with.
And does it almost become more real to you actually hearing it from a person instead of just looking at a bunch of text?
Yes, definitely, because like they give us like all the details on what they saw with their own eyes, not like what we're reading with our own eyes, that we didn't like experience it. So it's way like cooler to listen to like what they're saying then.
And what group are you in?
I'm in the purple group.
And do you remember the names of your veterans?
I know one is Jim, and then the other one came in late, so we didn't really get to hear his name. He was using the restroom, so.
Okay, that's a good excuse. So what did they have to say about their experiences?
They were saying there were like some good moments, but like it was a lot of bad moments that overpowered them. They can like still relive today. But like they also say how it's cool to like talk to us students who are like interested in learning about it. So they said it was like not an overall good experience, especially coming back home when they were treated very badly. So.
And I went around to a few of the groups. I know I heard some talk about PTSD and how that was perceived. Is that your group that was?
Yeah.
Okay, now how were they perceived when, they came back with that illness?
Well, they said that there wasn't a lot of good treatments today, and they feel like there needs to be better treatments because a lot of soldiers, they said how every soldier commits suicide every 22 minutes because of that disease. So that's hard to hear for them, to see what they're going through.
And does your textbook explain how tragic and devastating that can be?
No, not really. It's way different to hear from a person who actually experienced it on a daily. So I like hearing it from live than others reading it from a text.
Do you feel like you learn more listening to them speak than you do in a classroom reading from a book?
Yes, definitely, because it's way different to hear someone's personal experience than reading a secondary source.
What group are you in today?
I'm in the pink group.
And who are some of your veteran speakers?
One of my veterans, he was in the Army. His name is Randy Ratcliffe. And another one, he was in the Air Force. His name is Jim.
And were their experiences different since they were in kind of different parts, different branches?
Yes. Mr. Ratcliffe, he was a infantry and artillery. So he would actually be within the jungle and the battles, sending in artillery fire on other bases. And Mr. Jim, he would be a mechanic for different aircraft, for different bases for covering fire. So,
how did they describe their experiences?
Mr. Jim, he said his experience wasn't as bad as others because, unlike others, he had a chow hall, a place to sleep, and hot showers, while Mr. Ratcliffe describes his as it was awful and that he would have to stay up every night and sleeping outside, eating from cans, and it's really different experiences for both of them.
And did they describe any similarities between the two?
Both of them described it as they both were serving their country. That's how they described it, as it doesn't matter where you are, it just knows that their goal was the same.
And what more have you learned from actually hearing the veterans speak besides what you've learned from reading the textbook?
I've learned more as the emotion that comes with it. You can't get emotion from a textbook. You can't understand their personal stories or how it really was from a textbook. You have to really understand, listen to them with, they can tell the story with their eyes, really, too. You can hear the, I want to say, pain in their voice, really, when they're telling these stories. If, they skim over some topics really quickly because they don't want to talk about it, or they go into detail about these other topics, it's just it's really different between them and a textbook.
Well, you really noticed a lot as they were talking, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was I can tell it because it's hard for them of these stories, and the textbook can tell you the facts, but the actual people can tell you what really happened.
And now it's time for our weekly recap. I would like to say our goodbyes to Miss Pat Mueller.
Yeah.
Some of you may know her, I'm sure, probably know her from the Oxford Early Learning Center. She's a phenomenal person and even more phenomenal teacher. She's been teaching little kids how to read and write, and what's really interesting is that even before students are in school at OELC, they learn social studies and science, things that you wouldn't think that 4- and 3-year-olds could learn.
Yeah, and you've seen Miss Pat on previous episodes of Schooling Around, where we've been able to go in and visit with her and get her expertise and just oversight of education in today's day and age. So Miss Pat, we wish you well on your retirement, and we'll miss you. And we also, for my portion of the weekly recap, went to Oxford Middle School to witness their Master of the House ceremony, which happens every year, and all the students look like they had a ton of fun.
It's a lovely event, and is something going on in your school that you think we should know about?
If so, let us know. Take a photo or quick video from the event and post it to our Facebook page, Oxford Community Television, for your chance to be featured on our next episode.
And that about does it for this episode of Scrolling Around. Until next time, I'm Alexis Ware.
And I'm Danielle Smith. Students, enjoy your spring break.